Welcome back to the Cycling Collab podcast, season number 2, and I guess officially episode number 2. If you did tune into my comeback, I suppose it was almost a month ago, in that episode I did say that we're back. We're looking forward to covering some cycling from around the world locally, following on some of our young athletes and seeing what's going on. But this time we're also going to do it a little bit differently. You're going to have some really special guests lined up to come on this podcast and really just talk to our guests about their passion in cycling and where they've come from, where they're going, what they've liked about it, all those sort of things. And I am absolutely super stoked that the first person who's going to kick this off with me is none other than Mr. Scotty Brown. Scotty Brown, welcome.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for having me.
Actually, I've got to say a big thank you to you, mate. We are actually upstairs here in your lair at your new shop, which we'll cover off the new shop as we get along. But we are sitting here relaxing in a couple of beautiful leather chairs here amongst a real bike collection.
Yeah, it's pretty special up here. It's the backdrop. Your viewers aren't probably seeing the real beauty of it. It's very special up here, and if you're lucky enough to get invited, mate, which you are, of course. To see the history up here is unbelievable. Yeah. I'm just wobbling around a bit, actually. I'm a bit nervous, mate.
Well, just relax. You've got a coffee, you've got to relax. Look, all I ask is that you speak into the microphone so everyone can hear. Because actually there are plenty of people watching this who will watch this on YouTube, but there are a lot of people that will listen to this as a podcast as they're riding their bike, hopefully, or running some trails or doing something like that. So, mate, just make sure we're capturing that famous Scotty Brown voice that everybody knows and loves. But if you are listening to this as a podcast, I suggest that if you can, have a look at it on YouTube as well, because I'm going to overlay a bit of footage of this new shop. And so if you haven't been to see Scotty Browns Emporium, it'll be a good chance to have a look at how special this place is. So we will be putting a bit of that over the top. But I guess, I don't know, I don't really know where to start with you, Mr. Brown, because you're such an icon, mate. You filled the word yourself, didn't you? You're such an icon in the industry, in Christchurch, nationwide. And you were, no doubt we're going to jump around the place, all over the place here, trying to capture this. But I was actually thinking as I was writing this, writing some notes and things, I was like, I wonder if I should throw a poll up of, because you are super infectious and enthusiastic, and I'd be interested to know out there throughout New Zealand how many people have visited your shop over the years, that have come for a tube or a shirt or some nutrition and ended up walking out with a bike. Because you've got a bad habit of selling of the McDonald's upsell and people leaving with a bike. So that'd be an interesting thing. How many people came just for something but left with a bike?
Yeah,
I bet there's more than just me.
I'm proud to say that there has been a lot of sock customers turned into bike customers. That's for sure. So I feel like a bit of a fraud, mate, because you're talking to me like I'm some sort of. I use the word icon. And I don't pretend for 1 second, and we're just a dirty old bike shop in Christchurch trying our best. And I know we mean more than that to people, but this is just what we do, and it seems very normal and natural, to be honest. So, hopefully I'm speaking loud enough for the people watching. Yeah. Well,
let's talk about a young Scotty Brown.
Oh Jesus!
I don't know if you can catch it. Well, how did you start? When did you first get into biking?
That's a really good question. I was a very average soccer player, an incredibly bad cricketer, and just stop me, mate, if I bore the shit out of you. But it is interesting.
Well, I want to caveat this. I've just actually finished. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I've just finished listening to one, the alternate commentary behind the beers or whatever it's called. I can't remember what their thing's called. But it was Mark Ellis, and it was bloody damn funny.
Yeah, right.
So no pressure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, great. Thanks. Yeah, no pressure. But it's while some of this is probably does seem a bit boring to some people, it is really interesting how you can go from a kid that grew up in an ex-state house in Blenheim Road, and I don't pretend for anything that there's anything about success is about having stuff, but you just look at what hard work and that does, and I never thought it when I was at school playing cricket that I'd be a bike rider. So that bike riding passion, all that sort of turned into this, and then that infectiousness turns into people loving bike riding or loving life. It's pretty special. So mate, I was a really bad cricketer. My dad was my coach. I'm sure he hated it, but he put his hand up. And I was a bloody horrible soccer player, and I think they called me Smiley because I basically just ran around the field smiling. So from an early age. So yeah, and then
you're still doing that,
mate. Yeah, and then weirdly enough, I don't know why, I believe it or not, friends of the family knew Craig Adair, and I walked in there and bought a bike, and then for some reason thought and told everyone that bike riding that's everyone should be bike riding, and that's what I generally do. And got excited about it, and I remember cutting some gardening gloves off and turning them into fingerless gloves, and that's the end of that story, mate. Turned into a bike rider.
Do you remember what the bike was?
Yep, it was a Healing. I can't remember the model that I wanted, and you could change gears. For some reason, there was like a Shimano gear that you could change gears under load or something. It was a bit weird. Ended up with the Blue Morrison. But mate, it didn't matter. It had the brake levers up the top, which I remember screwing off, and bike riding to school like I owned the show. It was like a K from my house to Heaton Intermediate.
Did they have schools racing? Did they have any cycling in the school back then?
Look, at Heaton they might have, but I probably came into my own at Boys High, to be honest. So what am I, 12 or 13? Where it all started, though, was track development. So Mum was a hairdresser, knew one of the ladies in town, she used to do her hair. Her son was into bike riding, Mark Childs. I mean, whether these names mean anything to anyone who knows, that probably will. I mean, we could be here for 2 days talking about the history. It's insane. Let's just not do that.
The tape can roll as long as it needs.
Okay. Well, don't get me too started. Just stop me if I'm going too far. And they put me on to Nancy, and Nancy put me on to a guy called Peter, Peter Lewis, who turned out to be my coach. He said, you guys have got to do development, and I think I was bike number 18, which was my lucky number, believe it or not. It was the Daily Freightways machine. It was an old 10-speed white with stickers on it, and I did track development, and that's where I started. So we would go out there, I think on Wednesdays. Was that at Heaton? Must have been at Heaton Intermediate. And I'd do Wednesdays and Sundays, and I remember Mum would take me out and sit in the stands freezing her butt off, or the opposite, the nor'wester. Yeah, amazing. And so track development was where it started. And look, that's still going now. It's unbelievable. And adults are doing it now. It was all about kids back then, but there was some pretty feral bike racing back there in the early days.
Well, what we love, Christchurch has a great bike scene, full stop. But the track is great for, especially like you say, for the kids and for that early development. But you followed that through and chased the New Zealand dream for a bit.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like I forget all these things, but I recall actually doing schools racing, or at least some type of schools racing at English Park. Now you probably don't remember this, but English Park was on Cranford Street. It was a soccer ground, and it had a track around the outside.
Right.
So so I was doing some there, and I remember doing some bike racing there or whatever. It's just coming back to me now, but track was at English Park, and track was at Denham Park, and of course the track was built at Denham Park for the 74 Commonwealth Games. So it was ahead of its time, but pretty average out in the open. Yeah, way out in Hornby at the time. So, anyway.
And now that's the hub of.
Oh, it's the hub of track racing. I mean, it's not the best track in the world, but by crikey, it's developed some epic young bike riders, and the talent's still coming. It's unbelievable.
I saw a little bit news clip at that Wanganui getting a Wanganui track's getting a relay, and they're putting some investment into that, and gonna sort that out. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't read the news.
You don't read the news, no. Well, so what happened?
It's unbelievable you'd even want me here. Like I'm some sort of interesting character. What the hell?
Well, I mean, that's why we all come and hang out here, isn't
really?
Because you're so interesting, isn't it? Like,
okay.
I don't know whether we come to stare at you or
oh, you're adorable.
or what we come for.
Thanks,
really.
Right.
There was a program called The Greatest Showman or something, wasn't there? I think.
Oh, is that what I am?
Yeah.
Arc right. I've heard all that before. Whatever.
So you did a bit of road cycling as well, obviously, as you went, and in fact, I have it on good authority. You won the Harbour Ride once. That was Scotty Brown's. Actually, Scotty Brown's claim to fame. The club race that was the Harbour Ride that no longer exists, obviously.
Yeah, it was a Harbour Ride, I guess, before traffic management got its way in there. Yeah, so that started. I remember Trent Hiles, and I'm not name dropping because Trent Hiles' dad was as a famous film director who lived in Littleton. Trent Hiles was the rep for Campagnola and a few other things. For some reason, he gave me advice. It was just amazing. And I remember him saying, Carpe Diem. It was the first time I ever heard it, seize the day. and I started on a really, can I say shitty?
Yeah,
somebody fun. Like I started on a really shitty
Unfiltered here,
mark,
mate.
because I was a bloody useless road rider, and so it started in Sumner, and you rode up Evans, down the other side, all the way around, and I think I finished in Hornby. And Daryl Kircher, I've got a funny feeling, ended up being second or in the top 5. That he was chasing me. I knew that he was behind me. But this is well before the store opened. And I remember going up Evans Pass, and Trent Hiles was standing on the road, and I could hear him saying "Carpe Diem," seize the day, and I was just like, I'm in. And it was just one of those magic moments where I was far from a good bike rider, Gus. I can tell you that. But sometimes you just want to feed it and give it your best. And that was one of those days where it all just came together. I was bouncing up the hills like I was some sort of road bike rider, and won the harbour race. So they can't take that away from me. And I think I won a Ghetto Blaster. And then I sold
like a
it.
2-tape deck one, or a single tape deck?
I won CD, and I think I sold it for $200. I thought I was rich.
Doesn't sound like you to be selling them well in New Zealand.
Selling up.
So at what age were you then when you won the harbour ride?
I couldn't tell you.
Right. Did you own the shop then or not?
Oh, no.
No, so this is well before, early teens or something.
Yeah.
So you carried on, and did you chase a bit of the New Zealand track dream there for a bit? Like
yeah. I mean, I'd like to say that I was, world champion or something like that. Those sort of things, that'd be epic. And but I wasn't. I was a pretty good bike rider on a good day. But just super passionate, and probably, to be honest, looking back, I probably self-sabotaged, to be honest. I was just we'd never travelled as a kids overseas, and to be honest, just getting on that plane going overseas was always talked about, but it was just too scary looking back. So I don't know whether it was self-sabotage or I was just a bit useless, but I guess I got to the point where I probably didn't develop as a kid as quick as some of the other kids. And Nationals came around. I thought I was going to be in the junior world team. Didn't make it. So kind of the end of the story.
It is pretty. I look at even today that our young athletes that set themselves off and wander off to the other side of the world, and
you can do it
at a very young age though, right? Like it's that much. I just think that must be bloody scary for them when looking at that, where they're going. And
mate, I don't know. I think it's super scary, but the world's so little now with phones and technology. I don't think it was as bad. Like back then, we wouldn't have sent a fax. I mean, it was well before that sort of era. So, if you went away on your own, you were on your own. And I was probably too much of a mummy's boy for that. So, but anyway, look, that's I didn't make it. Let's just say that.
So did you choose to give up, or did it just peter out, or did you go, no, look, I'm not actually going to make this. Let's re.
Yeah, I don't know if it petered out. It was just time, mate.
Yeah.
I kind of knew it. I didn't really achieve what I wanted. Was working part-time at another bike store in town, and look, for whatever reason, mate, I just thought I could do it better, and just found that the new win was over there. Yeah. And look, I'd kind of had enough, probably looking back. Started early and...
Well, speaking of starting early, owning a bike shop started pretty early for you at 18.
Yeah.
And I want to read something out in a minute. But so how did the bike shop come about? Did you buy something off somebody else? Did you start from scratch?
Mate, in a nutshell,
where did that even dream come from?
Oh man, we could be here all day for that. So I'll try and wrap that up in a nutshell. You have to think back, right? So we used to get a magazine called Cycling Weekly. That was our go-to. There was no internet, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how we knew about what was going on. It's hard to think back that it wasn't that long ago, 30 years or whatever. So we would get a cycling magazine from England called Cycling Weekly, and you'd get it like 2 months late. So you'd read the results of things.
Well, you still get the magazines about 2 months late.
That's true.
Now,
Yeah.
anyway.
So nothing's changed. But you couldn't get up in the morning and check the Paris-Roubaix result.
Yeah.
Unheard of. And for some reason it would filter through around the world, however. But and so there was a company over there, you could buy stuff from England, cycling jerseys and everything, and that's how it came about. I started effectively, I think I gave the guy a call. Said, can you look up, I'm in New Zealand, I want to sell some stuff, would you give me a bit of a discount? I think the guy said yes. It was Dave Kane Cycles who I dealt with. A lot in the early part, but before that it was called Velo Save, and you might have seen in the early days of our company it was called Cycle Save. Velo means cycle, and I came up with a name because I thought I was a genius, called Cycle Save, and that's how we started in the business. And the business started out in its infancy not as a bike store, but as a mail order. I mean, we were a mail order catalogue. Can you believe it?
So I want to read a little blurb here, which I found
shit,
there, and it says, Scotty Brown himself is the man behind the brand name. Back in 1993, a young Scotty started his luck at being a bicycle shop owner. He said he started a bike shop because at age 18 he was cocky enough to think that he could do it better than what was already around. At the time, no one in New Zealand was really bringing the pro Peloton products into the country. It was hard to buy cycle racing kit back then and race pedigree bikes, so the young, passionate Scotty started the shop. Now, you're essentially, like you just said, you started a shop to bring stuff in. You were the first cycle shop to have a mail order catalogue in New Zealand.
Oh, there was Wallace Cycles. Again, I'm hoping that the people who are watching this can recall some of this. For the new flash cool internet guys who are watching this sort of stuff, it's going to mean nothing. But we would buy stuff by mail. I know you get stuff in the mail now, but you would send your order away with a postage stamp.
Yep.
Send it to somewhere.
Hope that it gets there.
Well, but in the back in the day, you kind of knew it would. But let's say so you'd hope ages. Then they would receive the order. I don't even know how you paid for it. I can't even remember that. In New Zealand, you were paying by cheque.
Yeah.
And I was just cocky enough. I had no idea, Gus. Absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into. I just thought you get up in the morning, you sell some stuff, you make a buck, and you're away. No idea.
And then
I sound quite enthusiastic about that, but I had no idea. You just couldn't pull it off.
But the innovative Scotty Brown also then goes and loads his boot full of gear that he's had, heads off down to Ashburton to the local club racing down there and starts selling out of the boot of his car. Yeah. Like genuine boot sale.
And I thought I was like a wizard at it. To be honest, how could you pull that off? But, I guess that's just, if you could nutshell, it's passion. I wanted to go down there and sell people what they couldn't get, that they wanted.
Well, again,
passionately.
That's right. You had something they couldn't get. There wasn't a store it wasn't any other stores they could go to. So all of a sudden,
pick that up, mate.
Here's Scotty turning up. I need that. Here's Scotty turning up with this boot full of.
It doesn't make sense, mate.
Was it good gear? Was it high end gear, or was it?
No, it was. There was there was no such thing as Alibaba, mate. Like, you weren't buying stuff that was it was it was semi-genuine articles. And look, I upset the apple cart, mate. We had lawyers' letters. When I say we, me and my business partners, who were a family, to be honest. And we had letters trying to close us down. It was back in the day where it was just about impossible to import anything. There was guys that had licenses. I think Alistair Worrell, who's the importer of Campagnolo, and bought in that Alan over there, and back in the day did Lake, that importer of high-end bikes back in the day. Those guys hated me. I was just getting in the way.
So is it true?
We're now mates, and we talk about the old days, and it's kind of fun.
Well, I'm pleased about that, because where I'm going to go with this is...
Oh, shit.
Is it true that Scotty Brown...
You might have to edit this out.
started importing Carrera frames against, against the importers that would come with order 10 frames and order 10 sets of Campag drivetrain, but maybe we were selling Campag drivetrain against the importer?
Yeah, probably. No, yes, yeah, yep. No, back at, we were, God knows how we got it, the distributor, the importer for Colnago. Think about that. I think we did 4 a year or something like that. It's ridiculous. How they even bothered answering an email and sending an order to a guy that couldn't even go to the bank and send a TT.
Yeah.
This is way before you could pay for things with credit cards and stuff. It was all slow. But yeah, there's absolutely no secret there. You would bring in and there would be some B's with it. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And did that hinder?
But we would make, I thought I was really cool and I'd make $200 on something, and there's no survival on that.
Did that hinder you though, business-wise, when you wanted to something else, but Worrells had it, or the other importer had it?
I just wouldn't deal with us.
Yeah.
No jokes. They were just like, are you, that was a bit of a fight, and that's another story altogether. But no, that was a bit of a fight. Yep,
Would you have done that differently now? Like, or do you think it's like?
Nah,
it was pretty clever stuff,
mate. Yeah, shit, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you probably couldn't pull. I mean, I hate being that older guy saying you probably couldn't pull it off now because it'd be a different way of doing it. I mean, kids are doing it on their stories now, right, or whatever on Instagram. There's a new version of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, we could literally sit here for 2 hours and just talk about that little first bit, and it'll bore everyone to tears. So we should honestly move on. But yes, it was that is in essence how it started. You know, there was a young guy. I don't know if you guys know, but if you've seen the scar on my leg, I was hit by a car.
Yeah.
At 13, spent months in hospital. Sold mousse to the nurses and the other people in there because my mum was at the hairdresser, so she'd bring mousse in and I'd sell it for $5. Like, this is while my skin's hanging off my leg. But back then we got ACC, and so ACC had paid me some money for being a victim, you know, and having a scar, and that was how I funded the store, actually, with the help of family. So anyway, that's it. So it wasn't a free ride.
So store one was where?
Oh, store one, if you've watched that video over our 30-year thing, our store one was pretty much at home. That was the boot. But the official true store was in opposite KFC drive-thru in Papanui in Bellevue Ave. We were probably there, it felt like about 15 years, but it was probably not even a year. Do you want me to move on to the next one?
Yeah, why not?
Well, look, that was the
shops.
Yeah, so I drive. I mean, I think I don't know if I had my license, but I pretty much walked to work because we live in Papanui. Then I went, and then where did I go? Rod Hibbard, the bike doctor, back then. So Rod Hibbard had a van called the Bike Doctor. He would repair bikes out and about. Rod Hibbard.
Is Mr. Blue Dog?
Is Mr. Blue Dog.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
there you go. There's a little lesson learnt today.
Yeah. He had a huge warehouse. Well, it felt huge. Look back now, it's tiny. But a huge warehouse on Wells Street. And he said, you can take that little corner, $100 a week, $150 a week or something. And we just lined it with all the fabulous stuff. And you could drive in those days. And so he would fix bikes over on the other side. We were just down the road from Swim Bike Run, which is my old workplace. And we just peddled our wares out of that wee place. Yeah.
Until it got big enough, obviously, to warrant your own, or
no? I think it was.
This was just gear, not bikes.
There wasn't many bikes in those days. We might build a Colnago up.
Yep.
Or we might build something up, and then we moved from there. I think pretty much. It's peeing down, isn't it? Rod pretty much said, "I've had enough," and we kind of said, "Well, it's time to move," and we moved down to Manchester Street, and then we moved from that store. We did a bit of stuff, and then we moved across the road. On Manchester Street. So 64 to 81. So it was Papanui town, very averagely. I mean, I don't even know who survived. It's unbelievable to think that we just kept going.
Because today we see here at the Emporium, we see people just constantly coming through the door. Mad. The phone, you come to talk to you, the phone's ringing off the hook.
I mean, it's a good problem to have.
And that's, I guess, because cycling has really come to the fore in the last few years. Again, it's had another massive
absolutely.
But was it like crickets for some of the time back then? Like, did you have, how many people a day did you have coming through?
It was crickets. It's a good terminology. It was probably painful. I think in 64 Manchester Street, I took my PlayStation in.
Right.
And we would play WRC Rally. PlayStation 1. And we'd play it in between.
Original Colin McRae.
Yeah, mate.
Oh,
original.
how good.
Yeah. And we'd pot around and do things, and I thought we were going to make it big, and we just kept plodding away.
How many employees did you have then?
1, maybe 2 part-timers and that sort of thing. Yeah, it was pretty low key.
Yeah.
I mean, but there wasn't a lot going on in bike riding either, Gus.
No.
There wasn't. We would go for a bike ride, and you would wave out genuinely because you probably knew the person, not wave out because you thought you should do it, respectfully. You wave out because you knew the guy.
Not all.
So that's the store,
right?
I mean, geez, where do you want to go on that one?
Let's just keep going.
What's on your notes?
Just go through the store. Let's roll through. Keep going through, and why? I suppose because there's a few reasons why you've had a few shop switches.
Yeah, definitely. Well, 64 was just one of those things we needed. R&R was over the road. Super cool looking store. Wooden floors. It was kind of time to grow. One of the guys that did our marketing, Jono, at the time, sort of said that's a great store, kind of sold me on the dream a little bit. But that was an amazing store, 81 Manchester Street across the road where R&R was. Iconic piece of land, real estate. And that was probably about the same time that cycling became the new golf. It was just crazy. Everyone was doing it.
What year is this?
I couldn't tell you. Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't tell you. I don't even know how old I am.
12.
I couldn't tell you, mate.
That's right.
Sorry.
But anyway, it was doing that swing, and we all know you swing, and we're talking about golf, but
15 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, but it was definitely that. And that was quite the saying, wasn't it? The cycling is the new golf.
Oh, it was the same.
It was the same.
Yeah. And it was true. I mean, there was guys literally not playing golf anymore, going bike riding, and doing business out on their bikes like they used to do on the golf course. So the pendulum swung a little bit, and it was cool. That was, and then events started happening, and because events were starting to happen, and that, that's something we can talk about soon. But that's, similarly why e-bikes are so popular now, because when there's effort going in, people make the effort. And so 81 Manchester Street was just crazy. There was 5 of us or 6 of us working in there, and amazing. Then the earthquake happened. We had no choice but to move then.
Well, the first earthquake happened.
Bit of downer. Yeah. First earthquake happened, and the store was fundamentally closed because it was too dangerous. And then we quickly sort of moved to. We're going too fast now.
No, mate.
So we went to Bedford Row,
which had a coffee shop and a.
Yeah, so now we're starting to think outside the square. How about having that coffee shop? The romance of having that. That store was very cool. Was going to originally be a bar. And so there was a wee kind of a mezzanine floor step up. We didn't ever really sign the lease and didn't really pull off what we wanted to pull off there because the next earthquake happened. But the idea was that's where we were going to stay for a while. It was a cool street, right opposite the IRD. Very cool.
I remember coming there. When I got a question there. When your business partner, Aidan.
Yep.
Who is quite, I suppose, known for the decks and making music and things. At what store did it start that when you bought a bike, you got a mixtape with it?
Oh, shit. Now we're talking. Christ, when was that? I'll go to jail for that. There's massive copyright problems here.
So if you don't know, there was an old thing used to go along. You'd buy a bike and you'd get this mixtape.
There was nothing
from
to do
Scotty
with Aidan,
Browns.
I can tell you.
Was he not mixing them? Was it you mixing them?
No.
Oh, I thought he was mixing them.
No, Aidan was a DJ on Radio U, but wasn't a deck DJ. Yeah, there's a story for you. So he was on RDU. Hope he's okay with me telling you that. But no, that was just it was like 12 of my favourite songs at the time, like Eminem or something. It was so crazy.
How many of those did you do? Like
I couldn't tell you. Maybe 50 or 100 or something like that.
I wonder if anyone's still got one.
I've probably got one in a box over there.
I was just going to say, wouldn't that be cool up here in your thing to have a collection of those?
Oh, I've got every tape. When I say tape, I mean actual cassette tape that we ever did on the radio. I mean, we've got everything. So it'll be here somewhere for sure. God, can you believe that? That's so funny. I forgot about that. We had stickers and oh my God. Anyway.
The things you do, but it's the memorable things, right? So
that is
it's
memorable.
The things that people remember, and the difference, I suppose, when you're looking, when you're competing against other shops, you got to have a point of difference, right?
Yeah, funny though, because it was never about compete. Like I don't think it was, and it still isn't really about. Like we're so busy doing our own thing, I just can't be bothered with the noise of other people. I mean, of course you're aware of what's going on. Now the noise is different. It's definitely different tonight.
Different now with the rain coming in. It definitely is. Makes it a bit hard.
But yeah, funnily enough, it was just like we should do that because that's cool. It still happened. It happened today. We're literally talking about doing some stickers for bikes. It's got nothing to do with competing with anyone else. That's just what we need.
That's cool. Yeah.
And so I think that's the leader part. Just want to be a winner.
You're a winner, mate.
Just want to win, mate.
You're definitely a winner.
Yeah. And it's not at all costs. It's because there's no so there's no expense spared when it sort of comes to that. But it's not at the expense, I guess, of the people that work with us or around us. Like we're very thoughtful in that process. Hopefully we all are. It's that's another romance.
And probably like there's more and more now is. My old adage, if all else fails, look good doing it. And can't even say I do that anymore. But the stickers, the merch, the the bottles with your name on it, the kit every year.
Do you remember? Sorry to interrupt. Do you remember you probably don't, but we had, I think, 5,000 orange bottles printed. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, people would say, "Oh, see another victim out there." I mean, they were everywhere, and it's it's those sort of things. You look back, and most people wouldn't even know what the logo was on the bottle, but the orange bottle stood for something. It was amazing.
What did it stand for?
It stood for us.
Oh, right.
I mean, do you know what I mean? Like it was just.
Were they the bottles? Are they the same ones you were throwing out of the car going up when Nationals was here?
They might not have been orange. That might have been post-orange.
Oh,
yeah.
Some good days there when.
Oh mate.
And with,
mate,
I don't know. I still want to carry on with the the shops,
that's probably a bit boring.
But if you had any interest in the national champs the other day in Tokoroa, which I saw they had a live feed from, which looked like a phone upright at the finish line. There was no excitement when they crossed the finish. It was pretty dismal. It was a complete disaster and poor form on Cycling New Zealand, if you ask me. And
I'm keeping right out of that.
I know, right? And but at the end of the day, there needs to be somebody held accountable. Cycling New Zealand's in a really bad place, in my opinion. And we're not going to go there. But when it was in its heyday, when we were here, and Nationals was here, we were up the hill. It was like being at the Tour de France. Yeah, it really was.
Look, I don't know if who had their role in the Cycling NZ part. And that's honestly, I just can't even bother. I haven't got time for it. But the guy driving that at the time was good and passionate and thought big, and whoever took that on after him, we were lucky here with the area at the time, because road cycling was, it was the new golf, man.
Yeah, man.
It was epic. I'm not 100% sure if you came back here it would be replicated the same anyway. I mean, I'm not opening up that can of worms. They'd have a better shot at making it exciting if it was in Christchurch, because we can go learn from history.
Yeah.
And you got a catchment audience that only has to go there.
Well, that's right, and that's what it's about, to get
But no bike rider liked that course. It was horrible. Bloody hell, it was hard. You got Ralstons and he's the first one, but that was hard, man. Yeah. But so it should be. Yeah.
And nowadays we've got more. Well, I guess we've got more of our pro riders racing overseas. We're not doing them justice when we're not. Is it even worth them coming home to fight for the Fern? Now that's I'm honestly detached enough to not have an opinion, and actually don't want to form one, and I'm quite opinionated. But I actually don't want to on that, because I just don't want to upset anyone or be disrespectful. I knew that Nationals were on because I'd been contacted by a bike rider, George Bennett, who his bike hadn't arrived. Yep. So I knew they were coming up. But honestly, I'm so far removed from that now. And part of that is because there's nothing going on, to be fair, to your comment before. Just... Yeah. Anyway, can we move? So did you pull a Colinago out of the back here?
I didn't actually. No, I said to him, mate, the chance of you getting a modern Colinago is 0, but man, you look hot winning on that old 80s one. He must have found it. So I didn't hear back from him, but how good would that be?
All right, let's get back to it.
Can we just,
we were at Bedford Row. You just started to build what was going to be a really cool place.
We thought was going to be a really cool place.
What we thought was going to be a cool place. Earthquake again.
Yeah, and that's, as funny as it all sounds as part of the history, there was nothing funny about it. It sucked. And then we moved home for 9 months and worked out of the garage, literally out of the garage. A small space at the back of the house, which was actually originally my sleep out family home, and we knocked a wall out and turned it into a wee bike shop. I mean, literally sold a Cervelo in the driveway to one of our great customers. But we just kept. You had no choice.
The rent was good.
Rent was okay. Yeah, it's self-funding. Well, I don't even know if we paid rent, but if you want to joke about it, it was going one way. But yeah, what was I going to say about that? That's actually at the time where I opened a sports management company and took Hayden Ralston under my wing, if you want to call it that, and he'll laugh at me, but I want to take that.
So you were Hayden's first manager?
Oh no, he had a manager. No, he had a manager, but I thought I could do better.
Oh yeah,
as an 18-year-old. But that was touch and go. I mean, that earthquake time, no shit, was there was times there when we were not going to have a store. Like, well, first of all, where are you going to go? There's no buildings. We've got no tin left, and thank God insurance and everything. And Paul Rickaby and his team did a great job on the accounting side of that and got us out of not out of the hole, but like made people who are accountable, insurance companies and stuff, actually come.
I think look at that, the rain stopping.
Beautiful.
Hopefully. I reckon, I just thinking back to when we first properly came together, I suppose, and actually got to know each other. And I have this funny memory where I was in the Devotials Harbour on our family boat with my parents and things, floating in the harbour, and you rang up looking for some 20-foot containers to pack the shop up in Bedford Row.
Really?
And I
told me to go jump.
No. I think it was the weekend, so I think maybe on Monday or something we sent you 2 containers. You packed a whole lot of stuff in it. In
fact,
you
kidding?
They sat in our yard. One of them sat in our yard for a long, long time before you actually. It must have taken it.
I don't actually care if anyone finds this interesting, and no one watches it. This is interesting to me. I can't remember that.
And that's my record. And then from that moment on, you were like, come by bike. I'll do your deal. I
really
I just remember. And then I remember.
But when I say stuff, I actually mean it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But it was actually quite some years later before I actually come and bought one, which was my Scott Spark.
Yeah, I remember it sitting at the front. We were sending it back or something.
Yeah.
I can remember that.
You were trying to sell it to me, wouldn't build it unless I said I'd buy it.
Oh, that sounds like a pair of socks. Really, did you do the containers for us? I didn't know that, but yeah, that there was a lot going on, man. In everybody's mind, we'd lost friends and houses and stores, and a lot of people were touch and go. So I was fat then,
mate.
I was real fat.
Don't go there. You don't need to.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I'm 105, 110.
Happy kilos.
Oh no, mate. I don't even know what to call that.
But you come back again, once again, the rejuvenated, poured another shot.
206 Wordsworth Street became an icon
globally.
Good. Yeah. I mean, that was a a New York City type, one-off. Shut the door at night time. Doesn't look like a bike store. Open it up. Not until you walk in does it look like anything, and then it just keeps on going. I mean, it was, while every other store in town just was a concrete.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, it's hard to explain. It was, and again, I don't want to.
Well, it's easy to explain because what you actually built was a cult, almost. Yeah, you built a bike culture. And
I didn't. I mean, shit. The people. I'm sitting here, and you're giving me credit, mate. They had nothing.
Look,
dude, the team, the people, and you just the first person that comes to mind is Jess Pekaski, and I'm probably going to miss lots of people out, and everyone that's had a hand in it, good or bad. I mean, there's been some wallies that I got rid of because they were leaning on the counter. Don't get me, but you look at that and they're all, but Pekaski, Jess, champion kid. I mean, he's not a kid anymore, but just. One of those people, special, man. I mean, you haven't got words for a person like that. Just epic. That's. I mean, I could just finish it on that. That's. Well, don't get me wrong. Aiden's been good too. He's annoying because he wants to, save money. It's not my style. But you look at like where that was in Manchester Street. She was a big part. Then but then all the people that came in at 206 and they were painting and their house had liquefaction in it. You just think about that. That's insane.
The thing that went on during or after the earthquake and the way.
And it's timely talking about that with all the junk that's gone up north. We won't go in there. Sorry to interrupt.
But they we all had things going on at home, but found actually there was something. You could. A lot of stuff you couldn't actually do at home until you sorted insurance companies out and things like that. Yeah, so you might as well go and spend your time helping somebody else. Yeah,
definitely.
I say you build a bike culture because, or a cult, hard to know what it is, but it become a place to hang out, right? Because, we judge other bike stores, and I don't know, does everybody? I'm not sure, but I certainly do judge other bike stores based on your stores.
Oh, that's nice.
And I do that by how cool they look. How much cool kit they've got in them, because we're all a bit of a magpie when it comes to the bling, looking for the stuff. But the feeling you get when you come into one of your stores as well, and that was always been one of the things is that if you're a bike enthusiast, then you want to talk bikes and you want to do all those other things. And that's what you got. You found a home when you came to Scotty Browns against going to some of those other big chain operators where concrete floor, whole pack of jam bikes. They're just going to buy
well, I wouldn't want to shop in a place like that. And so it was never about necessarily someone shopping with us and feeling like you just want to do better. Like, where would I want to hang out? But we get penalised for being who we are too, because the instant thing is that, that's an expensive store. We're not expensive at all. We have expensive stuff, but we're not expensive, and so that's been a wee bit of a handicap for us, because people sometimes just get too scared to walk in the door. But like the bottom line is that it's actually not about.
They're probably scared of the OTT Scotty Brown.
100%. I mean, look at us. Jesus.
With your mohawk at Matty. How old are you? How old are you, son?
That's it. I mean, what right-minded citizen out there would even think of taking me seriously? But that's the crew, man.
So you built this new store, and it's another level again.
Now, let me just say this. You talked about Rod Hibbard, the bike doctor, Blue Dog. Well, he helped build the store. That's how it comes around. And that's relationships and friendships that go on. They've gone on almost a lifetime. So I just want to say that Rod Hibbard worked his butt off to make this happen.
I called in many times when this place was getting built and come and see you and drop things off and do things like that. And
gave a shit,
He did. He did, but he was working your dream almost, your vision and your dream, and he understood that. And I say, if you haven't been to have a look at Scotty Browns, 16 Buchan Street, Christchurch, come and have a look. It's
a global phenomenon.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is. You may or may not get lucky to come and sit where we are up here.
You probably won't get lucky.
But downstairs, the containers inside is the workshops and the loud pink entranceway and.
Yeah, and there's incredible collection of bikes up here, which you may or may not get lucky enough to see. But we house a collection of bikes from the 60s over on the wall. I'm looking across over behind the boys' workshops. And by the way, I wish I could say boys and girls' workshops. So keep that in mind, girls, if you're a hard worker.
Send your CVs too.
Simon or Rach. But that back wall is just a livery of epic history, and it's my hoarding, but the hoarding's led to a collection that's it's not unrivaled, but certainly from a bike store it's unrivaled, and sadly we don't actually have enough space in this 700 square metre bloody place to actually show it off properly, but epic. Yeah, epic.
And it, again, it's just it's more than just a bike shop too, isn't it?
Feel,
it's a life. It's a thing. Just quickly, the two in the background here, if you can see, they've got a bit of history or a couple of stories to them. This one here,
So that was the bike that Dario Frigo won, I think, stage 18, and I'm carefully going to say 2001, but he won an Alp stage. Is it Alps?
Yep.
It's a bloody big hill stage on that bike, as it is, gold bottle cage at the Tour de France.
So that's the actual bike. So how do you come by that?
So when we used to be the importers of Carrera bikes, at the end of the season they would sell off some of their bikes, and we got lucky enough to get offered some bikes. And then that year, I think Aidan actually made that happen, to be honest, because I think he said, I think Frigo won on that bike, and it turned out that he did. So again, I'm immersed in cycling, but I just don't have the memory of some of these bike riders, and so I think Aidan can take credit for that one, but that's been in the collection a long time. And the one behind me is also a Carrera, and that was Marco Pantani. So Marco Pantani, we don't even have to go here. Yep, Marco Pantani. That was made by Carrera in the Carrera factory to his specifications. So that's the same tubing, same measurements. I've got a catalogue of his measurements here somewhere that they sent over. I think it's actually on a piece of fax paper, so it's probably black now. And that's pretty much a blow for blow bike that he rode when he was riding for the Carrera team. So yeah, real special. I mean, priceless, really. So
and like I said, the place is just littered with cool memories and things. So come and have a look. But friendships are things that you've made along the way, and with a lot of people, and I'm lucky enough to say that I've been blessed with that friendship from you, Scotty, and I appreciate that every day.
You bet.
But some really big friends that you've got along the way, and when you were doing this new shop, there was lots of Insta stories and things coming from people from from New Zealand around the world.
Nuts.
We know Tom Walsh, our New Zealand shot putter. He's a great friend.
He's so awesome, isn't he?
And a big fan of the shop, and
Yeah.
has his
And he's
own stock range.
Yeah, and he's a shot putter, and he's here, and I think that's the beauty of this place, is that, like, it's actually not about passionate cycling people, it's actually just about passionate people. He's a goddamn shot putter.
Yeah.
But he's a bike rider.
But he's a bike rider. That's right.
He's an e-biker.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. It's bloody good.
Of course, as you mentioned before, Hayden Ralston's been a long time close
What a amazing, just
from
epic.
Ashburton.
Yeah.
Hey, all good things come from Ashburton. Hayden Padden, of course, World Rally driver.
Yeah, how about that?
Hey, that's pretty cool. In fact, you almost did, but didn't race the Pioneer with him.
Yeah,
actually, didn't you?
that was. Thank God his
Oh,
contract ended. Jesus, I'd have been on the start line. Can you imagine that? Far out! What a show that would have been.
So the story I heard about that was that, cool, you'd signed up to do the Pioneer with Hayden Padden. How good's this? Hayden wants the full experience, so we're going to do the 10-10. And old mate here, Scotty Brown, says, fuck that. We're getting a hotel. We're not sleeping in no man's
100%.
tent.
Oh, we were going all in. Yeah, we were going, if we had to chopper somewhere, we would have done it, mate. Yeah. But, not thankfully, but thankfully. I actually trained quite hard for that. I was actually in pretty good nick. I was jumping up and down 4 or 5 times a week and then riding my bike up on the Port Hills. I mean, it would have been messy. Mostly because we probably would have ended up being in a flipping tent. It was you did it, eh?
Yeah. It was one of the years I did it. Yeah.
So I don't regret not doing that. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah. And in fact, I think it's the year I did it with Richard Greer, actually, to be fair, because I think because you weren't doing it, I borrowed your Envy wheels in the end.
Did you?
Because you weren't using them. So there you go. There's another wee story.
Hope for Envy.
But of course, what we did see was the fact that were messages from Spartacus, from Fabian Cancellara.
Okay. Now, Hayden can take full credit for that, but that's the connection. I mean, he literally picked the phone up and said, "Would you?" And they were like, "Yep." I mean, that's epic. And it probably doesn't, it's just, it's a message from someone. But man, for someone like those guys to take their time out of their day to say, and some of those guys I've met, don't get me wrong, to say good luck, that's special, man.
And shut up, legs.
Yeah, how about
Jens
that?
Voigt.
I mean, and we've got, and because of Hayden, we've got, a part of that collection we talked about over there. We've got Oakley signed by Jens Voigt, and and it would take me to walk around some of the stuff to actually get the in-depth look at this stuff. But Jens Voigt, what a dude!
Amazing, isn't it? Eh?
That's amazing.
Lucky man.
I mean,
do you think you're a lucky man?
Nah. Yeah. Oh, I don't know, mate. I mean, sometimes I think shit. There's some very well-off people, and there's some very not well-off people, and there's some people say you've done well or whatever. It's not really my email. I'm not really concerned about that sort of stuff. But I mean, and is it luck? I mean, people say, "Oh, it's not luck. You've worked at it," but there is a certain amount. It's maybe not luck as the terminology says in the dictionary.
Yeah.
But yeah. And do you bring your own luck? Not always. But
good people bring good people, mate.
Yeah, sometimes I think. Yeah, definitely. But guys like there's some guys there that made it look easy for me, and girls I should say, but just people in general made it look easy for me. At some point there's a whether this was called John Smith's or it's the people that make that name, whether it's whatever, maybe not so much for the big brands, but certainly for independents like us or 2 stores or 3 store places, whether it's bike riding or not, it's the people in it. Can I just cough? Thanks.
The next little bit I want to talk about is
I went off tangent.
No, I said we can go wherever you can direct this wherever you like if you want. But let's talk about.
I feel like we're going on too much, and it's going to bore people.
You rode bikes.
No? Okay.
You stopped riding bikes. You opened shops. You did all that, but you've always gone back to a bike, and you've done some crazy things in your time. Let's talk about the Grape Ride, and you rode from one year. You rode from Christchurch to Blenheim to the Grape Ride, and did 5 laps. Was it the 5-lap year? 6-lap year, was it?
Yeah, 6 laps, yeah. Oh, look,
at 100 Ks a lap.
Yeah. I can't even really remember exactly how that came about, but...
Publicity stunt, probably.
I actually don't... it didn't start that way, but it became that without even trying. But I went to Chomley Children's Home. So how it came about was I thought I should do something a bit nuts, but I could, correct me if I'm wrong, that might not be how it came about. Thought I'll do a 1,000k bike ride. Okay, I'll do it with the Great Ride. I'll ride up there. Oh my God, let's get a charity involved. Chomley. Might as well ride from Chomley. How good's that? So we ride from Chomley up to the Great Ride and then lap around. It turned out that it was just over 400 k's from Chomley to Picton and back a little bit. Jump in the car, have a wee nap, start the Great Ride the next morning. So if you start the Great Ride and do 6 laps and you time it right, you'll finish about the same time everyone's on the start-finish line. Good marketing. And so rode up there. We raised a ton of money for Chomley. Well before you could just Instagram the heck out of it. I mean, that was old school. Yeah. And it wouldn't be any easier now because there's way more noise. You know, if you're trying to raise money, it's so easy to do it. There's so much noise around it. But and then we found out that kids needed shoes, and so there was people dropping in buckets of shoes. Unbelievable. Great. It went mental.
Yeah.
Can't say mental. So I've got a cough, mate. It's pretty gross if you listen to that on your bike.
Yeah, long as you're not all over my microphone, mate.
But okay. I tell you what, I went out there and because I thought Chomley was for little brats. And I haven't done anything with Chomley for quite some time, to be fair. We sent them some money the other month in an envelope and hoping it got to them, and it did because we got a letter. But Chomley was, I went out there and I sat there way before kids. Didn't even like kids. Sat in a room and then one of the wee girls came in and they whispered to me, oh, this little girl you're going to meet has had a real rough life. And to put it mildly, she had, we all right? She's looking over there and I'm like,
no, you're good. No, you're good.
Because we're upstairs and there might be a boogeyman. And she, and real quick story, I can't remember exactly, but there was nasty stuff done to her by family, cigarette burns all over her body. And I was like, fuck that. There is now something to ride for. That was, to say the least, I don't even know what the word is. It was just like internally and emotionally, like that made it real. Like now you're riding for a kid that we don't even know about yet, and that wee girl you just met, you know, and for all the kids that you know aren't getting cigarette burns and aren't, you know, and then people heard that story and mate, we were on the news and crazy, and then the Great Ride sort of got behind it and sort of became this. It honestly became the Scotty Brown show that year. It was epic, but it wasn't about it wasn't about that. It was about what was happening. Yeah, it was crazy,
and it's
that's passion.
I find it hard to imagine how, you know, father myself,
mate,
and you know you've got 2 wonderful children as well, and
mate.
things. How does that happen? I don't want to go there.
No, let's not even go there, mate. We're both too emotional for that. But it's sad, and there's no doubt about it. Those mornings I'd get up and I'd go for a bike ride. I'd leave the house at 4 o'clock by myself, and I'd ride to Blenheim and then ride back the next day. You don't get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning for months on end at 105 kilos. When I was fat boy, but I was fat. And get out of bed and go and do things like that without something driving you. And yeah, there's the drive of like, if you don't do this, you're gonna look like a failure. And I definitely live my life like that. But mate, you just can't forget that shit. Cool.
Let's move on to something a bit more fun and a bit more happy. And you've so you've been up to all sorts of. And I'm hoping we can talk about this now. But your latest project. Are we allowed to talk about your latest project?
What is it?
With Mark Hadlow?
Oh yeah, we could.
Well, just like, I mean, it's been advertised that there's something going on.
I said I was doing something. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so
can we give it a plug? Can we?
Let me.
Okay.
You can ask some questions, but let me just say that Mark mentioned to me, because for whatever reason he's like in man love with me, that he had this idea about a show, whether it's on TV or it ends up being somewhere else, about 2 blokes, and of course, you know, his lifestyle's now, you know, has cycling in it because of his fame with Mammal, which was just epic.
I've seen it a couple of times. Yeah. Fabulous show.
And I hope that I'm good enough to get him to do it in the store one day. Can you imagine that? Or outside, or anyway, that's another story. And so we've done the edit of in a pitch video of a show about him and I on bikes, e-bikes of course, visiting places in New Zealand, talking to people. Not 100% sure how that's going to go yet, whether it's famous people or not, but certainly the first few we've talked about is talk to people about life and general, and some things we don't like and some things we do like, and try not to be too PC but be PC about it. Really cool.
Are they bike related people? Have they got bikes in their life?
That's the whole key to it. I mean, they might have bikes in their life. You think about Tom Walsh or those sort of guys. You talk about life and he's got a bike, but it might not be. It might be, I always say Johnny Smith. Might be Johnny Smith who sold potatoes for 45 years at his gate and rode a Roa and donated all that money to the kids. Who knows? We actually haven't got to that point yet, but I was supposed to ring Mark today, and here I am with you, and I still haven't rung him, but he's just fizzing about that. He's probably more excited about it than me because he probably sees the vision.
Well, I hope you can hook me up one day and we can swap you out for him in the seat.
Mark will do it, mate. I'll make him watch this, and now he'll be embarrassed if he doesn't. He will do something with you for sure, Gus. He's just magic. What a guy.
Amazing human being and New Zealander. Let's just divert from bikes for a second before we start to wrap up, but there's another passion in your life. There's a couple of passions in your life, of course, family and kids and things, but there's another addiction in your life, I suppose, isn't there, which is cars. And you've got an amazing car collection, and always wondered, where did the love for cars start?
Look, I think that probably came about when I first started the business, thinking in about a month after I'd opened it, I'd be able to buy Porsches. I'm not even kidding. Like, I probably thought that. I mean, how stupid was that? And so you get to a certain point and you have your mortgage and it starts getting lower and things happen, and then you think, MTF will loan you some money and buy a car, and it doesn't seem too bad, and that's pretty much how it worked. I mean, I do it because I love that. Like I'm lucky enough to daily have my fix of bikes. If I wasn't in the bike shop, I would have an insane bike collection, no question. Happen to have an insane bike collection. I'd be careful about car collector, but I'm pretty bloody passionate.
Man
or
woman who has more cars than they can drive at once as a car collector.
And that's and again, that's where the it's sort of hard to explain that, but I and it sounds like I'm skiting, but I think Porsches are cool. I think that lots of kids had childhood dreams about maybe having that, certainly kids my age. Probably the Lamborghini Countach was the one. But I just love cars. I think they're beautiful. The way they're pinned, that you can do things to them and make them yours. I'm very much a Magnus Walker fan. I'm not a big fan of necessarily stock standard.
RWB?
I went through a massive RWB stage, and if you're into cars, you'll know what that is. But that was, I'm probably moved away from that. Kind of went too far, but no, still get it. You watch a guy.
I think the whole process of that, where he flies out and he brings all the kit with him and he has to do it himself.
Sick.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah, but again, a bit like I like e-bikes and I like track bikes, and I like unicycles. My car collection has the same flavour, or my love of cars has the same flavour. So whether I've got them in my collection or not, and air-cooled or Cadillacs or that sort of stuff is just so cool. And I'm not saying that because I want people to be envious. It's what you love.
And I'm a car guy. I love cars as well. Always have. I've done a bit of car racing in my time.
Yeah.
My father and I and things, but the generosity of the guy that you are, and I talk about that I borrowed a set of Envies off you to go to Pioneer, the Pioneer race, and I've borrowed bikes and I've borrowed other things out of the store here, and probably supposed to have been purchasing, but we could probably call them borrowing for a while on a loan. I've borrowed. You've been so generous in your time, and I've taken twice my daughter to her school ball in Ashburton.
Cool.
1 year in the Porsche, and then 1 year in the Audi R8, and that was a dream for the kids to be able to turn up in the ball in one of those two. So I can't thank you enough for just that genuine generosity that you give people.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't feel too special, Gus, because I've offered quite a few people. But seriously,
well, that's even more. More generous.
Oh, that's nice. But there's what's the joy in having that stuff if you can't share it with people? And
I was just lucky enough that her ball was in Ashburton an hour away, and I had to drive it all the way down and all the way back. Right?
But that's and I'm not just going to say that that's me. That's just the nature of the place. You know, you got guys that work in here that lend their bikes out to people. You know, how good is that? Have they learned that from me? Maybe or maybe not. But you know, that's just the way it is, mate.
Well, I think it's what we do. You know,
you don't even get up in the morning and try and teach that stuff. It just is what it is.
That's right. So
I shaved my legs for you today.
Didn't you?
Yeah, so
and then you put your trousers on.
Yeah, but still.
Oh, yeah.
It's the effort.
All out. It's the thought that counts, mate.
I could talk cars all day, but I just feel like such a wank. I honestly do. Like, you know, but I'm so fizzed about that stuff.
Well, because I want to talk a little bit about e-bikes. Let's talk about e-vehicles at the moment.
Don't like them. Stop.
That's it. Period.
Oh, I thought I loved them, but and then when people go, oh, you know, what's that word?
Trendy?
No. When you, I can't. No. Anyway, but I get e-bikes. Don't get e-cars.
Are they the future?
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah, I don't want to say that. They are. Of course they are. But it's soulless to me. That'll change.
Buy a big warehouse full of fuel.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. I mean, I am actually not a hater. Because I thought actually at one point I'll get one of my blown up old air-cooled cars that are worth nothing and no one will buy trade me off me, and I'll put a
conversion kit.
Yeah, 100%. They're done, and I watched 40 hours of YouTube and thought I could do it myself.
Yep.
And you've probably done it too, and anyone who's car guy's probably done it.
Where that is in the world. There's a red Porsche that somebody's retrofitted overseas somewhere. They've
this guy's in England. Oh yeah, unbelievable. And look, you see that power and you just and it's epic, but there's just no noise.
Yeah, I know.
But I get it, and there's definitely a place for it, and it is the future. There's no question about that, eh? Probably.
So e-bikes is the future of cycling?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, it's probably, there's going to be a lot of people saying, oh, yeah, whatever. But look, honestly, like how many people has it got on bikes? That's not a cliche. Talking to a guy today who's, he's 140 kilos. It's a big unit. Even if he was fit as, he's going to be 120. And you look at guys like that and go, where's the fun in riding up a hill at 4K an hour? Like, honestly, where's the fun in that?
That's right.
That's end of story. Unless you are absolutely love feeding it and just sweating everywhere and killing yourself. The problem with it is that guy will only do it one day a week. And so to get back on the bike, he's going to do it next. He never gets on top of it. It's almost impossible. So then you go on a diet and try and lose, and he's not going to be that guy. So he'll get an e-bike, and I said to him, it'll change your life. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
It'll goddamn change his life.
Ride it.
Yep. He'll go riding 4 times a week for 1 hour. Perfect. He's moving.
Absolutely.
How good.
Outside, outdoors.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's what it's opened up, isn't it? Like, my parents have got e-bikes and they go away on their motorhome now and take them with them and they bloody ride them everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not the romance of a guy riding the Tour de France, but if you want to get really nitty-gritty about it, the romance of the Tour de France is different anyway because they've got radios in the areas now. So...
But there is romance there in a certain...
Oh, and no, absolutely.
Because Sandra has an e-bike, and the world that it opens up, exactly that. She hates climbing up a hill. She's going to hate me saying this, but climbing up a hill at 4K an hour or whatever.
She's not alone.
Sweating, breathing heavy.
No one does.
While I'm waiting further up. Well, I used to wait, but maybe not so much now.
Yeah, but you think, let's use Hayden Ralston. Hayden rings you tomorrow and says, go for a bike ride. You go, nah, mate, there's no way I'm going to go with you because I can't.
Correct.
Tomorrow you can.
Yeah.
And that's the gift that it gives.
That's right. So does
it make you fitter? Yeah, it does actually, because otherwise you wouldn't have gone anyway. And so that's the glass half full attitude that we've had for 30 years.
Well, I think that's the myth that we also need to break, is the fact that it's not just for old people. And Sandra, on hers, I'll use her for an example, is often going just as hard as she would, but she's just going faster.
Thank you.
And going further.
You nailed it. Same amount of effort, 12K an hour.
100%. 100%.
Right.
And what is better than that?
Yeah. And you do what you did in 3 hours in an hour, and now you got a life.
Yep.
And if you really want to go and have a tin of beer, get into it. It's not my cup of tea. Yeah, there you go.
In fact, I got some beautiful lighthouse beers up
here.
I
see your sponsors there, mate.
To my
They just tell me how long we've gone for, because I just think I couldn't watch myself for an hour.
I can't actually read the screen to see, Scotty.
You're going to have to edit some of this out.
So we are going to call it. We're just about going to call stops here in a minute. But what's the future? Where's the future of bikes going? It is e-bikes. There's some cool shit going on at the moment. There's some new technology. Is there something?
Yeah. Did you see Danger Holmes' post today? Again, I don't want to talk social because I'm not a big fan of it, but he showed a bike, an e-bike from 2014, and today's. insane. No wonder people hated,
bikes
the Aidens of this world.
Yep.
And me, to be honest, back then as well, like, you looked at it and it was such an afterthought. And you look at today's product and it's so slick and so sick, so fast, so quiet. Is there a future in that? Yeah, 100%. There's still a future in pedaling bikes. That's not going to go away. It's been happening for hundreds of years, and cars came along and people still rode bikes. They ain't going away. Yeah. And I'd like to think that my kids and other kids down the track will still ride a bike. It's just another way to do it.
Will you encourage your kids to ride a pedal powered bike against an e-bike?
Both. I don't really discriminate. On a Sunday, no, because on a Sunday morning I can go with my 10, 11-year-old and watch the sunrise up Kennedy's Bush, which when you're fit is almost impossible to ride. And 11 years old he can go up it. So is it about riding up the hill? Yeah, it's a wee bit about that. Is it about that moment that when I'm in a box he'll look back and say we ride up on a hill? Yeah. 100%. Totally. So we'll still ride our bikes at the bike park going down, or ride our bikes so that can't do the dairy, but there's a place for it. But there's a place for all that stuff. You just can't be and most of the people that have discriminated against that, because I was probably a slow adapter, have come around. And they're the ones that love it the most. It's like when you go to that, we don't want to go to that movie. I'm not going to that movie, Gus. Nah. Oh my God, that movie was amazing.
But you're right. It's taken a long time to get there, isn't it? Those, like you say, those early ones were.
They were pigs.
What the heck is this all about? This will never work.
Yeah, no.
And then
absolutely.
there's been some super smart technology from the bike manufacturers.
Yeah. Oh, epic. Yeah, and look, they already know what's going on in 2 years, mate. And I can tell you right now that it'll be cool. Yeah, there's been juggling around, but yeah, the e-bikes of today are amazing.
So what's the future of Scotty Brown? Scotty Browns.
Keep going.
Keep going. What cool's going to happen?
Oh, well, I think so. We're heading cool.
You're the leader of cool.
Yeah, I honestly
the pioneer of cool.
Well, I think we're a benchmark. When you get other stores owners who normally don't go into stores, and they're big name stores, branch global stores come in here and take photos of what's going on, that's cool. Are we going to get it wrong? 100%. We're going to upset a few people? Absolutely, no question. But we can't be everything to everyone. What we want to be is that amazing store that's second to none, at doing our best. And again, we'll only be second to none for some people. I don't want a place where come and people drink coffee and hang out and look at old bikes and leave. There's no future in that. Like, that ain't going to pay the bills. So we're a business.
Yep.
We've got amazing. Yep. And we've got amazing staff that deserve to go home with a wage and pay their bills, and so that's all the boring stuff. But when you go and buy a bike from Torpedo or 99 for the same sort of money that you can buy it from us, I know this is not a plug, but you just think about that, and it goes into this big pot of cash to do very nothing for the community and very nothing for the people, and they're still paying wages and everything, but it isn't the same, because a lot of those guys aren't turning up on a Saturday morning at a bike race to help out or encouraging. We've sponsored multiple events over the years. Kids racing, we're still, like, my track bike's down there, Riley's riding it. His parents can afford a bike. I want him to have that bike as part of his legacy, and so that bike's been gifted to him to use until he's ready to give it back, right? And so the future of our store is pretty much the same. Let's just keep on giving as much as we can without giving too much away, right? We've got to make a buck, and we can't pretend that if we're here to not make a buck, then we've made so much money.
Yep.
Did you tell me to shut up?
No.
Oh,
no, I was agreeing. No, I was agreeing.
So we.
I'd never tell you to shut up.
No, I know. So if we made so much money that it's free to come in, we've got you back then. We were still working hard to make enough to keep going. Yep. I take home some money, and with my money I can do what I want with it. And I happen to buy some cars on finance. And God,
he's asking you to justify.
But it needs justifying, because otherwise you get like, oh, I'm not going there. Well, no, come here, spend your money, give one or two more guys out there who are dying to work here enough to go on to actually, for me to employ them.
Yep.
And in the meantime, come in and have a coffee and have a look around.
Yeah,
we've got an espresso. We're not charging you for it. Tell your friends, and literally we're giving back. Every store's giving back. All the independents are giving back. But you asked me and opened up a bit of a can of worms. Where's our future? Our future's not a lot different than it is now. Tidy the place up a bit, make ourselves, happy in our work environment.
What about the, just quickly? What about the supply of bikes and bike parts and things? Is it changing? Is it swinging? Are we getting some back? Or
all over the show.
Or are we still waiting for last year's bike for next year?
I can tell you that there's going to be some things that you as a consumer are going to absolutely love, because some of the pricing is going to go that way real quick. And I was pointing down for the people that aren't watching. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really hard for us independents to keep up with some of the pricing that's going to be done by the big boys. But we've seen it all before. You know, there was planes crashed into buildings. There's been wars. There's been recessions.
Yep.
We've done it for 30 years. It's not our first rodeo. There's going to be some hardship in some areas. But we're going to just keep doing what we do best, which is great service. And that just doesn't go, you know, great service, great bikes. If you can't have A and you can settle with B, great. We're not going to, it's actually not going to be that hard. Yeah, there'll be some gaps. It's not super easy at the moment.
Well, we'd just like to say thank you for 30 years of
God, I got bloody excited, didn't I?
So you did get us excited. Well, and that's what we love, is the passion, Scotty. That's how I started this. If we wind back, I started with about this guy who's got this passion for the bike industry, for what he does, and for the people around it, and that's it. And that's, I guess, what we love about it. So thank you so much for 30 years of service to you and to all of the crew, your business partners, anybody that's worked here, to everybody who's shopped here, who keeps the doors open for me so I can come and loiter here.
That's the case. It really is like that. You know, that's what keeps it going. It's the people, and then it's the people that go to the cafe and talk about us. And it doesn't always have to be about the best bike or the most money spent. It's just about, you know, what a great place to go. So, mate, thanks for letting me come. I don't really think I deserve it, but
oh, mate,
it's cool to talk about some of the old days.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you've got a bit of time, and we're actually here recording this well after shop hours have closed,
it's all good.
And I appreciate your friendship. Thank you very much, mate.
I love you, mate.
It's been awesome.
I will just end that we should do this again in a few weeks. We'll cut it shorter, and we should do a couple of maybe we can walk around and, you know, maybe look at some of the collection that's up here. It would be super cool on those weeks where you've got nothing else to say.
I've got before we go, we'll put this out here, open this up. You're here for the first time. This definitely doesn't have to be your last time.
No.
Let's do more together, mate. Let's do a shop tour. Let's maybe when something. You're going to Taiwan?
Yeah, I'm doing that. We could do a live stream. I mean, we could do anything. But
you're going to take me to Taiwan to do a live stream?
Sorry, you're breaking up. But I think that I don't want to do that and force it down people's throats. So it's your job to find out if the 5 or 6 people that have decided to watch this or listen to it. Sorry, there's no disrespect to you.
You're about right though. Yeah, but I don't care because I've had fun.
Yeah, and same with me, mate. But if it's worthy of doing it for those sort of things, we'll go make the effort. And if it's not worthy, then we should do this, you know, every couple of months. There's always something to talk about, and maybe we could make it more about now rather than the history, or diverse into one particular area. There's some pretty cool stuff going on, and
well, keep listening then, everybody. Keep downloading and
like and share.
Like share. No, you're right. Hit me. Make sure you check out the Cycling Collab YouTube channel. Hit subscribe on that.
We could even do a giveaway or something like that.
A giveaway.
Like
Whoa. Well, back this up. I'm just going to push this button here and put him back under the spotlight here. You just said giveaway.
Yeah, I'm not doing it this time because I've got nothing to give away. And actually, quite frankly,
we'll find something. Forget about him. He's all full of publicity.
We will do it, but not this time, unless you've got
Anyway, thank you all for watching, for listening. However you've listened to this on your favourite podcast app and YouTube. My friend Scotty Brown.
You bet, mate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll see you all again.